Hello and welcome to Mentors Present. I will be your host today. I'm Charleston, the Media Arts Mentor here at the Art Institutes. And today as a guest we have Mr. James Keller, one of our public speaking teachers.
That's
Is that
correct.
right? Okay.
How are you
Perfect.
today, Charleston?
I'm all right.
Good.
Today we will be exploring the importance of the inherent power that all students possess that allow them to be successful in their personal lives and also in their academic lives.
Exactly. And what's important for these students to know is that when it comes to that power, it means that they've got the power, the gift, and the talent. And it's just a matter of tapping inside of that power and understanding what that talent is and what that talent means. It really comes with understanding who they are when it comes down to their skill set with what it is that they want to do in life. There are, essentially when it comes to dreamers, there are two types. There are those that ultimately dream about what they want to do with their lives, and then there are those that actually fulfill their dreams. And for those that fulfill their dreams, Charleston, it's important for them to understand that it takes sacrifice. It takes actually giving up a few things, and sometimes a lot of things, in order to get there. It also means having to put into place objectives in order to reach some realistic goals. But in order to do that, there's certain things called sacrifice that they have to put in place, along with this other thing called time management.
So what are some of the things that they can do to tap into that inherent power when it comes to reaching their goals? What are some of the objectives that they can employ?
Some of the objectives that they can employ as far as sacrifice is concerned is understanding what's important versus what's not. Also understanding that excuses can sometimes prevent them from progressing. I believe that there are three powerful letters when it comes to students, and that is the letters P-R-O, pro.
Okay.
But the question is, what are they going to do with the remaining letters? Are they going to progress, or are they going to procrastinate? And the procrastination component, of course, is what inhibits their opportunity to progress and to tap into that ultimate power. So it takes a realistic look at the objectives that need to be set forth. So here's the deal. You know that you've got a project due week 10 or week 11, for example, and it's week 1. Well, at that time, that's when you start thinking about what needs to be put in place with regard to realistic, concrete objectives. And each week taking a note of what type of progress has been made, not putting it off until the next day and the day after that, and before you know it, it's week 9 or it's week 10, and I don't know how I'm going to put this project together.
Right.
And then that other 3-letter component, project, ends up being slowed down or minimized, or they don't have the opportunity to really exhibit that level of power that they possess. But I can be the first to tell you, as I'm sure that you can attest to as well, is that when you do put aside that procrastination component, you do make sacrifices when it comes to hanging out with friends is okay, but how much time do you hang out? Or when it comes to knowing that you have an assignment due by the end of the week or the next day, how much time are you actually putting forward with regard to making sure that that assignment is done?
Perfect. That was well said, and I think that's something that our students can really benefit from. Again, I'm your host, Charleston. This is Mentors Present, and we are at the Art Institutes. We're going to go on a quick break, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome back. I am Charleston, and this is Mentors Present. I am the mentor for media arts. I'm here again with James Keller.
Hello once again.
And we are talking about how students can tap into their own personal power. So we went through a few of the objectives, but I think now we should probably tap into time management.
Yeah, we should absolutely tap into time management. Charleston, I've been an instructor for over 15 years now here at the Art Institute and other institutions of higher learning in the Houston area, and I can definitely attest to the fact that sometimes what we put on paper doesn't really work.
Right.
Like when a student, for example, if you know that you get off work at 5 o'clock, then is it really a good idea to schedule a 6 o'clock class
Right.
when you work in Galveston, for example? So I use that as an example because we put ourselves under unnecessary stress when there are certain realistic things that we actually can't do when we try to squeeze 30 hours into a 24-hour day, and then we get mad at people that have the audacity to drive the speed limit on the freeway. It's one of those situations where in order to limit our level of anxiety and stress, it comes with being smart about what we can do versus what we can't do. And the component of time management means understanding that on a realistic realistic platform, a realistic stage, that we have to have time for rest. We have to have time for commuting when we live in a large city. We have to manage that time accordingly, even when it comes to different assignments that are due or projects, as I was talking about earlier. We got to take a realistic look at how much time needs to be set aside for each of those components in order to be successful, because otherwise we'll find ourselves being in a very stressful circumstance. We live here in the United States, particularly in large cities, in what's called a monochronic culture, which means that for us, time is money, and what we do in the course of a day determines our success. That's our mindset. The thing that's so unique about a clock is that it's got, the clock itself is constantly moving. But the question is, how do we move within that time? That's something that we can't change. That's an immovable force, time itself. But the thing that we can change is how we move within that force. Like, for example, in a rural community or rural culture, they're typically very easygoing, but as a result, they typically don't have as much high blood pressure or as much stress, because they're more of a polychronic culture. They look at what they do in the course of their lives as opposed to the course of their day. And it's not to say that we should be totally polychronic, but it means that we have to find a healthy balance, because sometimes one of the things, Charleston, that unfortunately we forget about is how we integrate friends and family that we spend time with in order to maintain a healthy balance. Because we can't be all about tasks. We have to socialize. We have to connect with other people. We have to be able to decompress and to relax.
I know when I was a student, I never really thought about time management. What are some of the tools that our students can utilize to make sure that they're using their time effectively?
Yeah, some of the tools that they can utilize, as I said earlier, is just being concretely realistic about time when it comes to scheduling, when it comes to whether it's scheduling classes, when it comes to scheduling how much time to sleep, and stick with that schedule and not allow themselves to procrastinate or ultimately put things off, but to take an obvious, realistic look at everything when it comes to how much time they're going to be spending in traffic, how much time they're going to have to spend on different assignments, how much time needs to be spent with family and actually interacting with them.
Is this a list that should be written, or should they do it in their head?
I think that it is a list that they should start with writing it down first, and then eventually getting into a routine and not deviating from that routine. I say to celebrate those times that they have the responsibility of having more structure, because if they get the right amount of rest, they're going to wake up feeling better about themselves. But when they do have that time to just simply relax, to just focus on nothing else but relaxing.
Perfect. Well, thank you. Thank you for all of your great insight. I think those are really good tips. Again, guys, I am Charleston, and this is the Mentors Present from the Art Institutes. Tune in to the next episode. Thank you for tuning in today.
Thank you.